Fascinating new research on how bacteria may impact our moods. A lengthy New York Times report details the work of a few key scientists in this area who are studying the way our gut bacteria may be impacting our brains and the way we feel on a regular basis. Dr. Marty Makary is a physician and public health professor at Johns Hopkins. Dr. Makary, great to have you on the program. Let's start with a fun fact, and by fun fact, I mean completely and totally gross, but very interesting, that when we look at the microbacteria in our body, it can actually weigh as much as 6 pounds, which is interesting. Perhaps that means we're all 5 pounds lighter than we think we are, because that's actually bacteria. Why do these scientists think that bacteria might be impacting our emotions?
Because they secrete things, and we're learning more and more about this, Jenna. As you said, we have more bacteria cells than we do human cells in our body, and 99.99% of medical research has been on the human cells. We're just starting to understand that these cells that line our insides actually produce serotonin and dopamine, which may influence mood, and they may explain some of these diseases for which we haven't understood anything. Irritable bowel syndrome, anxiety disorders, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, gluten sensitivity. We can tell you when you've got those diseases, but we have no idea why you have those diseases.
So let's walk our viewers through some of this, and let's use the anxiety disorders as an example, because that's not one where you would think, oh, well, we should start with the stomach, right? That's one where a lot of the drugs would treat something in our brain. So talk us through the stomach-brain connection that researchers are looking at.
Well, the new research from Texas Tech and also from Canada and Ireland shows that serotonin and dopamine, the same molecules we manipulate with mood medications, are being secreted by these bacteria. And it also turns out that while most of mood is environmental or behavioral, if you will, part of it may be related to this change in the bacteria, where you've got millions of bacteria and they're in different compositions and percentages, and they live in a balance, and we throw off that balance from different things we do.
Interesting. So one researcher has this to say. I'm going to read this question that he's raising with some caution, because it brings us into a bigger subject. Here's what he says. The larger concept is, and this is pure speculation, is a disease like autism, or a disease, mainly a disease of the brain, or maybe a disease of the gut, or some other aspect of physiology, saying we have these conditions that are out there, no one can explain it, and we need to look at the stomach. But then another researcher says, listen, we definitely need to look at the stomach, but I'm not even in a position to recommend people take a probiotic. So those seem really, they seem very hopeful on one end, and the other end, kind of a big question mark about the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know what causes autism. I don't think we as a medical community do, but we have these host of new diseases, Jenna, that have been virtually undescribed before the use of antibiotics. When antibiotics hit the modern world, we changed a lot of the intestinal flora, and now we abuse antibiotics like crazy. We overuse them, people want them for everything, and we're changing that gut. The lack of breastfeeding has been implicated in changing the gut. Processed foods have been implicated. Nobody knows for certain, because it's hard to do these 30-year studies of the consequences. But these diseases are new. They're new to the modern world, and they are still virtually rare in certain parts of the world.
So let me put you on the spot here just for a moment as a medical professional, and just as, a guy that we trust, Dr. Makary, do you take a probiotic? Would you recommend that to people? Because that's the one way when we read something like this that you can put good bacteria back into your body.
Yeah, I mean, the categorization of good and bad bacteria is probably so primitive. I haven't really seen research. I've tried probiotics because when I'm sick, hey, why not try everything? But I can't really recommend it. I don't know that enough about it. But I do know that there's so much in the bacteria that we are starting to understand that will probably explain what we currently call bacterial overgrowth syndrome. That's the umbrella blanket term we use. It's probably a host of hundreds of diseases we have yet to really describe.
It's really fascinating. Like I said, a little bit gross, but fascinating. And if there's a solution in there, then we're all for it. Dr. Makary, great to see you as always. Thank you very much.
Great to be with you.